Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hello, everybody. So, happy Labor Day, guys. That was my food just going off, guys. We have ASMR stream tonight, guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Labor Day, guys. What do I have planned for you today? We are going to review TR3B science. Do you guys know what the TR3B is? If you do not know, here's the answer for you. TR3B is known as the Black Triangle. The Black Triangle, guys. Now, the Black Triangle, when I had first heard about the Black Triangle, was probably like, I don't know, 10 or 20 years ago. This idea that there was a craft that you could see, but you couldn't see it at the same time. Like it was a black thing, but you could tell it was this triangle in the sky. Old school UFO sighting. Now, my opinion on the Black Triangle has evolved a lot in the last couple of years, as you can possibly imagine. I believe that the Black Triangle is actually not a solid triangle craft. I believe that what it is 3 spheres of plasma linked up, just like in the MH370 videos, in a perfect equilibrium triangle like this, equilateral triangle. And I believe that we just thought it was a black triangle because your mind connects the dots. Your mind is like, oh, those things are connected because they're entangled together, just like the orbs in the MH370 video. So that was my preconception going into tonight. And tonight, guys, what I have for you here, we're going to take a look at this interview here with Jarod Yates. Now, Jarod Yates' name has come up several times. We watched him about a year ago, maybe longer, where he was going through Friedwart Winterberg's notes. I don't know how he had access to them. My impression was that Friedwart Winterberg had died, and that's how Jarod Yates got access to his notes and what have you. But that's potentially going to be thrown in upheaval, as we're going to see here as we watch some of this. Now, I'm skipping through. We're going to skip through the first part of this. But Jarod Yates also, I think this is kind of an interview with, he's friends with Tim Ventura. I've reached out to Jarod Yates as well. As you guys are going to see from this discussion here, there's a lot of crossover. The reason why we're reviewing this is there's way more crossover than even I anticipated with respect to the science that we've been digging into, to the point where it's like, anyway, we're going to see for ourselves here. So let's go ahead and get the show started.
Able to get.
Okay. So I'm going to go, let's go with, okay. I'm just going to give some quick updates here. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Hello. Okay. The stuff that I want to check out actually isn't necessarily just the images. Like a lot of these images you guys see here. Let's make this full screen. A lot of these are just fake, right? Like there's so many images on the internet of stuff, and a lot of it, especially these triangle ones, a lot of these triangle things that you see out there are fake. But that doesn't mean there's not actually a real TR3B, real physics, real science that's out there. But anyway, here's some examples. Let's make them bigger for the types of stuff we're talking about here. Now, notice in some of these as well, you can already see there's 3 lights in a triangle formation. And so the bottom left one is a good example right here, this bottom left. Because how would you even be able to tell there's something in the middle of it? There you go. Okay, so let's keep moving on here. Yeah, I don't care about sightings, and people watch X-Files. And now here's another thing where this idea, this image of it, where there might be this light envelope hovering it. So this kind of shares the idea of like what we see with the MH370 videos. So I'm gonna let him listen to this while I get my food ready here. Let's play this here.
BBC.com. They had some pictures that came out of the Belgian wave incident. I'm gonna just focus your attention on that red ring in the very center. We're gonna come back to that later, but just commit that picture of that twisting red ring into your memory. So we see the shape of that light bulb was larger on bottom than it was on top. We see that the entire size.
This isn't what I wanted. Let's go to. Okay, so let's just get to the good stuff. This is boring. Okay, this is what I want to start with. This part right here.
President Reagan created the Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI, colloquially called Star Wars program. The development of this craft started before then, but SDI put gas on the fire of developing this craft. So I'm going to focus a lot on what occurred during those few years. Before I do that, I'm just going to...
Wait a minute. SDI? The Star Wars Initiative? Do you guys hear what he just said right there? He says, okay, this technology predated the Star Wars program, but the Star Wars program had significant impact or significant, God, I'm struggling today. Improvements or whatever to improve the technology. Because here's a big part of this. This technology is related to nukes. It goes back many years, but I'm trying to figure out, like, when did they actually first figure out how to make the orbs? When did they first figure out how to teleport something? I don't think it was like in the 70s. I think they actually, like, they may have known how the science behind it, but to actually pull it off, I think required certain technology, certain material sciences, they say. And some of them have admitted this. Hal Puthoff has admitted we don't have the material science, but maybe we do now. Maybe we do now. And then the question is, how far back? I definitely think that in the 90s, they were working on this. They were, doing whatever I think in the 90s when it started to take off. That's when you have like Ning Li, you have all these anti-gravity experiments, the high temperature superconductors. As we're going to see here in a minute, superconductors might be one of the things that took this to the next level. So now we have a direct connection, Ning Li, Eugene Poklanov, and this technology. So here we go.
I'm going to shove a slide right in here. So this graph is the official story for the power levels for lasers that humanity has created. You can see that we didn't get to the petawatt level, the PW. We didn't hit that until about 2000. It turns out that there was an experiment done by Ed Teller down at Los Alamos National Labs called the Dolphin experiment. In this experiment, they exploded a nuke. They funneled all that energy into a laser beam. And the energy density of that thing, it was several hundred terawatts at a 1.4 nanometer wavelength. For reference, that wavelength corresponds to about 250 or 214 petahertz, which is insanely high frequency. Also, if you follow those red lines, the horizontal line there at the top in between terawatt and petawatt, that's about the halfway mark for several hundred. You can see that the Aviation Week in Space Technology leak about this test indicates that we were at least a decade to a decade and a half ahead of the curve. DARPA was ahead of the curve by 10 to 15 years, ahead of what has still to this day been officially disclosed.
Wow. DARPA was 10 to 15 years ahead on laser technology. Let's be more realistic. They were 25 years ahead. 25 years ahead on laser technology. And laser technology is what we needed. Who also said this? Salvatore Pais also said this. Sal said, hint, hint, attosecond, femtosecond. And what did we just hear right there? What does he have on the screen here? Some kind of secret project here that they worked on. What did he say it was called? Dolphin? 1980. And they produced a laser beam that was super powerful, much higher than what people expected they were going to be able to pull off. Now, you look at this graph right here. Ain't no way, chat. Ain't no way. That graph is like curves off. Like, yeah, it didn't get any more powerful. Lasers just started slowing down. Yeah, I don't know about that. we just figured out attosecond lasers. I guarantee we had attosecond lasers in the 90s, maybe in the 80s as well. The government had them. The black defense contractors did. They were using these attosecond lasers to ignite fusion bombs, to ignite nukes. So, okay, here we go.
We wanted to make sure that we could shoot.
So here we go. Strategic Defense Initiative.
So SDI, if you boil down SDI to its most basic elements, we were in the middle of the Cold War. We wanted to make sure that we could shoot down any ICBM nukes from Russia. So Ed Teller comes along and he says, hey, if we put these exploding nukes funneled energy into laser beam, nuclear lasers, if we put these onto a satellite up in space, we can shoot down multiple ICBMs all simultaneously and create effectively a complete defensive dome around our country. This was an incredible idea that Teller did not come up with on his own. There was another scientist involved that I'm going to get to here shortly. I'm also just going to put as an aside, George Shultz, Ronald Reagan's Secretary of State. He stated at Ed Teller's memorial service in 2003 that SDI was responsible for ending the Cold War. I mean, the official story is because we just outspent them, but it's an interesting comment to make at the guy that's the godfather of the space laser idea.
What the hell did he just say? SDI ended the Cold War? I believe, man. I believe. What, guys, what is going on, man? Guys, nukes, like, we have to level set. Chat, focus, chat. We have to level set. Nukes are not what we think they are. We think a nuke is a boom, there goes Hiroshima, mushroom cloud. No. That was 40s technology. That was 80-year-old technology. They figured out when they were working on thermonuclear weapons, they straight up figured out 0-point energy. They figured out free energy. And whoever gets that technology first wins, right? We won. We figured out the technology and we won. And what happened? The Soviet Union collapsed. The Soviet Union collapsed and fell apart. I was thinking that the Soviet Union just fell apart from economics and that's how we won. What if we just won because we had super technology? We being the United States. What if we just had super technology and that was the end? And we've had no competition since then, since like the late 80s. Maybe since the early 90s. I don't know when. Wow. This is pretty wild, man. This is Jarod Yates guy. He's a good researcher, man. Space laser nukes shooting down nukes. And what are the orbs? When we watch the orbs, you could imagine those orbs are an interceptor device, right? They could intercept a missile. That could shoot down any nuke that you shoot at us. We shoot you with we hit it with some orbs and we zap it back to you. We warp nuke it onto you. Edward Teller, guys. Edward Teller's sketchy factor going up to like 1 million right now. Teller Ulam device. Edward Teller 100% knew about wormholes, 0-point energy, no question. We just have to find the proof. I'm sure it's out there. The fact that Hal Puthoff tells a story about Edward Teller, like meeting Edward Teller, guys, it's all right there, man. It's all right there. Well, for some reason, even the UFO community is going, what's the connection between nukes and UFOs? I don't know. What could it possibly be? How about nuclear power is an energy source? Maybe, chat.
All right, so how is this look at that official stories because we just outspent them?
This is just like actually blowing my mind. I think we like actually solved it. Actually figured it out. Actually figured out what the government's been hiding. It's nukes. But it's just not nukes like we thought. It's nukes like, oh, we can wormhole shit now. It's like, oh, we made a nuke. It was a little too powerful and it just started warping space-time. That's basically it. That's how we'll explain to people, guys. We need to really dumb it down for people. We need a digestible narrative that a normie can understand. Guys, nukes are 40s technology like 80 years ago. We made nukes that are so powerful, they start imploding space-time on itself. Breaking the laws of physics. You want to think about it like that. And we've been hiding it ever since we figured it out. We've been hiding it ever since we figured it out because only one person on this country, only one nation on this earth is allowed to have it. Because if more than one person had it, there you go. So probably all the foreign negotiations we do are like, hey, you do what we say or we just bitch you. And look, we have super weapons, so Shrug. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Kind of makes sense. Okay, let's keep it going.
An interesting comment to make at the guy that's the godfather of the space laser idea.
Chat. Space lasers? Space lasers? I think they made up the whole Jewish space laser thing just to distract from the real space lasers. I mean, if we don't have space lasers, what are we doing? We have directed energy weapons. We have the ability to teleport. We can make nukes that are so powerful. We've got floaty orbs spinning around, teleporting airplanes away. Yeah, we definitely have directed energy weapons in satellites. Why would we not? Why would we not?
All right, so how does this thing work? So the space laser idea was called Project Excalibur. Here's how that supposedly works. You put a nuke inside the center of that satellite. When the nuke explodes, that energy is converted into X-rays that are focused down long crystal rods like sapphire or ruby or whatever you want to do for making the coherent beam. And it's focused such that you're able to get a directional energy blast from this nuke rather than a spherical energy blast from this nuke. There were successful ground tests of this, like I said, for the Project Dolphin experiment. The vanilla OG version 1.0, it was 1,000x increase in the brightness of the nuke. So the amount of...
So this doesn't sound like a nuke to me. Like it's emitting X-rays. It sounds like they're just doing nuclear physics, which is fusion and fission. That's what this sounds like to me. It sounds like this to me because we're looking at X-rays when this plane is being zapped out of the sky, and we're looking at X-rays coming out of orbs. We've got X-rays coming out of orbs. Hold on, chat. I've got it. We can see X-rays coming out of these. That's why they're black. So they've figured out fusion and fission technology. Huh. And so when we see this stuff like, what did it say again? That wasn't the best video, but you guys are familiar with the MH370 videos. They're creating an X-ray laser. I got to be honest, chat. I think the orbs have an X-ray laser on them. So when people are like, "Oh, this is alien technology," the alien technology has come, chat. X-ray lasers are definitely human technology. Definitely human technology. Goes back to SDI. Why would we not have that? If we had it during the SDI, during the Star Wars initiative, why would we not have it right now?
Light energy that was coming out of the nuke, because we were able to funnel it into these rods and focus it, we were able to amplify it as well. So the very first one, 1,000x increase off of the nuke.
Did you just say 1,000x increase? Yeah. Version 1.0 was 1,000x increase in the brightness of the nuke. Does anybody really believe that we didn't manipulate space-time at this point? We're making laser nukes that are 1,000 times brighter than normal nukes. At some point, space-time's just going to be like, you know what? I can't deal with all this. I'm out of here. Zap away. It's probably how we figured out teleportation.
2.0 version, though, that you don't read about much. It's very lightly sprinkled throughout the SDI documents, but it's there. So the 2.0, the Super Excalibur version, was 1,000x increase on the 1.0. They figured out something on how to get a 1,000,000x increase onto this energy coming off of these nuclear X-ray laser beams. Here is an estimate I found by somebody else online who calculated it out. At the time, there was a...
Wait. What? I thought he said 1,000 twice, chat. Chat, did my ears deceive me, or did I hear 1,000x increase twice? That's 1,000,000 times increase. We made a nuke, a laser nuke, 1,000,000 times more powerful, 1,000,000 times brighter than a normal nuke. 1,000,000 times. What? Like, you know, it's not even just like, how do other people not know about this? How did I not know about this? How did I not know about this until like today? We just don't get taught anything related to nukes. Also, just because I heard somebody say this might be secret, I think they enrich uranium with like metal ball bearings, metal like magnetic balls or something like that, because it creates a frictionless environment. Somehow they're doing some weird orb shit with metal magnets or spherical magnets to enrich uranium too. I just think that's interesting.
A nuclear treaty where we weren't supposed to be doing tests for nukes larger than 150 kiloton yield. So the calculation is based off of that. Although if we were putting these in space, we're already breaking those treaties. So why not go all the way and put a megaton bomb there? I mean, who knows? But
yeah, chat. We don't care about treaties. Treaties. Treaties are for the common folk. Treaties are for the people that don't have magic floaty orbs and teleportation technology and free energy technology. That's who treaties are for. Treaties are for the little people when they're fighting with each other. You say, oh, you had a treaty with that person. You stop fighting. You be good. Stop. Yeah, we don't do treaties.
These numbers, for whoever's listening and can understand them, 10 to the 20 joules per radian for the OG version, that's already getting insane. But then they said, let's turn that up to 11, and they went to 10 to the 26 joules. That's for the 150 kiloton. You probably put another order of magnitude or two on that if you put up to the megaton, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, just add some more orders of magnitude. I mean, what the hell? People are like, hey, you need this. You know, one of the biggest things we hear is you need this huge energy requirement to make a wormhole. Well, have you looked at nukes before? We're making nukes that are like 1 billion times more powerful than normal nukes, or 1 million times at least. So, you know what? I don't know how many zeros we need, but I feel like we're getting pretty close. We got super powerful attosecond lasers. We got nukes that are 1 billion times more, 1 million times more powerful than normal nukes. How much energy we need, chat? How much do we need?
So here's some evidence for why we need to do this. This is a New York Times article from October of 1986. The gist is that the Soviets were working on these particle beam weapons / laser weapons over in Kazakhstan at their Sereshagin test range. There was evidence that they were successful. Problem was their actual output wasn't high enough to be considered a threat, but the rate of progress was. Coincidentally, Russia was begging us to stop and halt all of these broken treaty experiments into these space lasers, just so that they could catch up. They were about 6 years behind us with their development. So they asked for a 10-year ban that would give them more than enough time to not only try to reverse engineer themselves, but infiltrate and send spies over here so they can reverse engineer it even faster. The US laughed at them and said, no, we're not going to stop. We see that you're doing it. We're going to keep doing it.
Here, chat, I'd like to do my impression of the United States. When Russia was like, yo, chill out on the space laser nukes. We don't have that technology yet. We need some years to catch up. United States looks at them. Catch up? Yeah, hold on. Yeah, we'll hold on. Let's just stop doing research and weapons development so that Russia can get ahead of us, guys. Hold on. Let me go hit up the CIA and let them know. Yeah, CIA, I need you to chill on all the evil shit for a minute. Russia's like, hey, can we get a timeout? And we're going to like, yeah, sure. Free timeout for everybody. Have some nukes. You know what? Let's just give Russia the nuke technology. Let's give them some teleportation tech. Who cares, right? Yikes, chat. Yikes. This is why Soviet Union fell apart, chat. Here you go. This is it right here. We're hearing about it right now.
Doing it. And so we continued, and that's what I'm going to say is what ended the Cold War, is that we beat them to the punch.
I mean, even Jarod Yates says it. He says we just beat them to the punch. We just beat Russia to the super nukes, the teleportation nukes, whatever you want to call it. And that's it. Game over. GG. GG's, chat. Can't come back from that, Russia. Sorry, GG's. Soviet Union is done. After Soviet Union got GG'd, they legally had to break up. They had to break up and start over. There you go. This honestly makes more sense to me than anything else.
All right, let's talk about the scientists involved. I got 3 names for you. The first one.
Hell yes. Chat, this is why we live stream. Let's talk about the scientists. Chat, I want you to go ahead. Everybody gets one guess. Put your favorite scientist that you think Jarod Yates is going to talk about. He goes through quite a few here. This is what I wanted to actually go through today. Pick which scientist you think Jarod Yates is going to talk about here, and let's see if we find him. Let's see if he's on the list. Pick your favorite Black Project scientist that you think might be connected to nukes. I do recommend looking at the S tier. If you're not familiar with the tier list, check out the tier list live stream. It's going to be relevant, I think. Let's see what happens.
Probably one of the most important people of the 20th century.
So Edward Teller, start off with Edward, father of modern rocketry, head scientist at Lawrence. That's Lawrence Livermore, right? Isn't that what LANL is? Deeply involved in many special access programs between Manhattan and SDI. So Edward Teller also wasn't just a normal dude, right? Edward Teller was like Black Project, like Hal Puthoff before Hal Puthoff was a guy, right?
Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb, he worked on the Manhattan Project. He ousted Oppenheimer through a lot of drama that occurred in the 50s.
Chat, pause. How dare you? How dare you, Crow?
And took over Los Alamos National Labs. He was one of the top scientists in the country for like 50 years. He was involved in so many Black projects, it's even hard to keep track of. I'm going to draw your attention here to one specific conference, the International Conference of Laser Applications. This went over a number of years, but specifically the years 1987 and 1988, there was two scientists. The next slide will have the other scientists, where they're talking about how these space lasers can be useful for SDI. I'm going to posit later in this talk that these space lasers were actually used for development of the TR3B.
Woo! Spoiler alert. Space lasers were used for the development of the TR3B. Well, chat, at first you had my curiosity, but now you have my full undivided attention, Jarod Yates.
This last part is unknown provenance and veracity. The Majestic documents, if you're not familiar with them, these things were leaked in the 90s and early 2000s. People go back and forth as to whether or not they're true. I'm going to treat this one as if it's true because it supports what I got to say. So in this,
well, I don't know what the Majestic documents are, but I think we're about to find out.
Document, it's a letter from
Wait, is this the Majestic 12? Is that what that is?
Teller to President Reagan in 1980. So Reagan had just taken office. In it, Teller is telling Reagan that they have a vertical takeoff and landing triangular craft that pivots on its center that would be useful for recon. Remember, the TR is tactical reconnaissance, according to most people. But specifically, he was saying that it would be useful for protection against the ET threat. There's a whole can of worms that I'd love to get into about the ET component of this, but I'm going to leave that until maybe the end, if at all. Next scientist. We have.
What? I mean, next scientist? How are you going on? Bro, you just said that Edward Teller hit up Ronald Reagan in the 80s and was like, yo, we got triangles that can just float into the sky. To take off from the ground, just shoot in the air. That's anti-gravity. Like, no, there's nothing else that can be. He's not talking about helicopters. Yeah, should we replay that? I think we need to replay the last, 20 seconds here.
In it, Teller is telling Reagan that they have a vertical takeoff and landing triangular craft that pivots on its center. That would be useful for recon. Remember, the TR is tactical reconnaissance, according to most people. But specifically, he was saying that it would be useful for protection against the ET threat. There's a whole can of worms that I'd love to get into.
Holy ET threat? Why'd we have to throw that in there? Why do you have to go make it all spooky now? I mean, look, man, if he says we got triangles that can pivot on its center, when we talk about pivoting on its center, that's exactly what I would expect an equilateral triangle to do, right? When we look at the orbs in MH370 video, they move around like this. They're pivoting on its center, right? On that center of mass between the plane, where the plane is. So either that's a fake letter, or that letter perfectly predicts what we see the orbs are doing in the MH370 video. How many coincidences need to line up before people just admit, like, oh, yeah, we just figured out fusion propulsion from nukes, and then we turned it into some plasma orbs that can float around in the sky? Yeah, it's a gyroscopic-like effect, right? Like, that would be another way to put it. Now that we have the context, now that we know what we're looking for, I mean, it's just right there. All you have to do, I've said this many times, stop assuming everybody's lying to you. Start assuming that sometimes people are just telling the truth. If you actually just assume that everything is real and work backwards from there, you will be closer to the truth than if you do the opposite and assume everything's fake. Wow.
About the ET component of this, but I'm going to leave that until maybe the end, if at all. Next scientist. We have Julian Schwinger, one of the smartest guys of the 20th century. This guy got a Nobel Prize that he shared with Richard Feynman, one of the other smartest guys of the 20th century. for his work on quantum electrodynamics. He worked with Teller on Strategic Defense Initiative, at least on the sides. He also was a keynote speaker at one of these International Conference laser applications, which is how I can claim that he worked with him on SDI, because that's what these entire conferences were all about, was SDI stuff. Also, he was very well connected. He attended a month before Roswell. There was the Shelter Island conference where these 24 super high-profile scientists all gathered together to share all these ideas that are not very well disclosed, as far as I know. He was spotlighted back in '47 for his quantum electrodynamics work, because he figured out how to boil the vacuum, essentially.
He figured out how do you just gloss over this? Julian Schwinger figured out how to boil the vacuum, essentially. How do you boil something that doesn't exist? I thought the vacuum was an empty space. Empty space, there's nothing there. My professor, Professor Brian Keating, told me that. Are you telling me my professor doesn't understand physics? Are you telling me that Professor Keating doesn't understand physics as well as Julian Schwinger, Nobel Prize winner from 1965 for quantum electrodynamics? Sounds made up anyway. Julian Schwinger figured out probably one of the most important breakthroughs, the Schwinger limit. He figured out that there's a limit before space-time just freaks out. There's only so much energy you can pack into space-time. You pack in enough energy, and all of a sudden, there's like an inversion happens. All of a sudden, light just starts coming out of the vacuum. Photons. Julian Schwinger. The Schwinger limit. This is going to be extremely relevant in the next few minutes here.
Last guy, probably one of my favorites. Dr. Friedwart Winterberg is a...
Okay, so Edward Teller, Julian Schwinger, and Friedwart Winterberg? Chat, it's my goat. It's my spirit goat. Whoever said Winterberg in the chat, there you go. My spirit goat, who I meet with in my dreams, like Marvel movies. There he is. So, Friedwart Winterberg, I might be one of the only people on this planet that's actually read his Principles of Thermonuclear Detonations, or whatever the hell it's called. His textbook, 180 pages. Chat, I read a nuclear textbook. And I didn't even have to get past page 1. Page 1, the secrets of unlimited green energy come from inertial electrostatic confined fusion. And inertial electrostatic confined fusion was classified for national security. Or inertial confinement fusion. So, okay, what you got for me?
Paperclip scientist who came over in 1959. He is still alive today. He's 95 years old. He worked at the Desert Research Institute.
Hold up, pause. Pause. I just heard he's still alive today. How can that be true if I'm meeting his spirit in my dreams? Something is wrong here. Why did I think that Friedwart Winterberg was dead? Oh, because I watched a video of Jarod Yates digging through his research files, so I assumed he was dead. Otherwise, you wouldn't be digging, rifling through all his stuff. He's alive? Maybe he's just not lucid. Maybe he had he's 95 years old. I didn't know people live that long. If I lived to 95, chat, we were going to be in the money. We're going to be doing great. Okay, so hold up, chat. Google. Let's see if AI gets this right. Is Friedwart Winterberg alive? What you got? The AI doesn't even want to respond. It didn't even respond. Okay. He used to be, yeah, maybe he's still alive, chat. Let's see his Wikipedia page. I'm just looking. It says he's alive. Wow. Wow. Salute. Salute to you, sir. I didn't mean all those things I said about you, if you're out there. I just thought you were already gone and I could just say all kinds of weird shit. So my bad, dude. But also, huge fan of yours, sir. You should come do some hard truths. That would be great. Okay, well, Friedwart Winterberg is alive, chat. We just brought somebody back from the dead on today's live stream. People said it's not possible. Witchcraft happens on MH270X live streams. There it is. He's alive now.
For many, many decades. It was his ideas. He's primarily involved with plasma fusion. That's what his jam has been his entire life, is plasma fusion. But he's had a lot of other interesting ideas. His ideas for plasma fusion is what led to Ed Teller and the Dolphin experiment, being able to have this idea that you can explode a nuke and funnel it into a laser beam.
I mean, I just called it. I called it, chat. I told you that laser beam nuke thing was fusion. I told you guys that. The X-ray laser beam nuke thing. How do I know it's fusion? Because we're looking at X-ray laser beam coming out of the orbs. That's how they're flying around. They're using the plasmoid. And now we're hearing Friedrich Winterberg was the guy that helped them do that, and that it actually is a fusion X-ray laser beam. I rest my case, chat. I rest my case. Could I be literally psychic all the time like this if those videos were fake? No.
Some of his other projects are Project Daedalus. He had the idea for Project Daedalus, which was the idea that you could have a spaceship with nukes exploding behind it, and you can ride the wave of that explosion. That one was from the 70s. He's had a lot of ideas for fusion-based propulsion. And I'm just going to make a comment here. He's got a grand unified theory that's at least worth a look at. It's at least worth giving it credit.
Yeah, it's worth taking a look at. I don't even need you to tell me, Jarod Yates. What is Friedrich Winterberg's grand unified theory? Planck ether hypothesis, chat. Planck ether hypothesis. The guy that was building the nuke lasers in outer space that made Russia give up the war, according to this video, that's Friedrich Winterberg, plasma fusion propulsion expert. Plasma fusion. Why are they all plasma fusion propulsion experts? All the people we keep finding. They're related. Lasers, plasma, fusion, over and over and over and over again. And he was helping Edward Teller. No wonder his stuff's all classified.
For how connected this guy has been, you should pay attention to what he says. It's about something he calls the Planck ether, which a lot of connotations there are not going to go into. His main goal in life seems to be that he wants to get inertial confinement fusion declassified, because there's so much classifications around it, especially during SDI when it was strongly developed. Still not disclosed, so...
There you go. Why does nobody know about Friedrich Winterberg? Because all his research is classified. All his research is classified. Why? Because we're looking at it zap MH370 away in 2014. That's why it's classified. Nobody's getting that research. In fact, Friedrich Winterberg tried to get it out, and they said no, even decades later. Why? Because we're still covering it up today. We're still covering up fusion propulsion, the fact that we solved fusion a long time ago. I mean, just think about just one small factor of this. Think about how scandalous this is. Think about the fact that they knew that inertial confinement fusion was the solution, and they just didn't tell anybody. They just let everybody go do whatever the hell they wanted. They're like, we're not going to tell anyone. They just didn't tell anybody, even if they just like knew the right path to go down. In fact, inertial confinement fusion was getting like the least. Actually, that's not true, but the like alternative cool cold fusion variants of that got no money, no attention whatsoever. Everybody's been working on these stupid tokamaks. Wow. Yikes, chat. Oh, also, real quick, the ITER, the new fusion thing that they're spending like $30 billion on, scam. Literally, you could throw it. It's not even going to be built for like another 10 years, and it's already obsolete scam. Already. Completely useless. Throw it in the trash. We're spending tens of billions of dollars on shit that we already know is obsolete. That like, why just like literally stop building it right now and start disassembling it, and we're going to start over. It's actually insane how stupid the scam is for fusion. Is it 2038? Is that when they're claiming that thing's going to be online? It's not even going to be online for another 13 years, and it's already an obsolete garbage can? Yikes, chat. Yeah, it's literally just money laundering. It's just literally money laundering. It's actually insane. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm getting myself upset.
he hasn't been successful. But as far as I can tell, this is a good-hearted guy that just wants the world to be a better place. Unfortunately, he's really good at keeping secrets, so he's not going to spill beans.
Sorry to keep pausing, but I love it. He's like, unfortunately, he's really good at keeping secrets too. So the good news is we figured it out. So we didn't really need him to speak up. And I'm 100% sure. 100% sure the MH370 videos are real. 100% sure we figured out exactly where this science has been hiding. I mean, there's more than just fusion, but fusion is like the center of this. It's the center of this. And you could take it one layer further and you could say it's more than that. It's more about them understanding the geometry of space-time itself, ether, understanding how these things fit together. That's really the underlying thing, because that's what makes fusion simple. Once you understand the ether, fusion is trivial. The reason why we can't get fusion to work is because our theories are wrong. Our theories are wrong about how nuclear physics works. I mean, the government knows the truth because they've been building nukes. But all the people on the commercial side, unless you're in the know, unless you're connected, unless you've been in the black projects, you're just there up a creek without a paddle.
But if anybody is listening for any of the disclosure stuff that's been going on lately, it'd be worth getting this guy in front of Congress and asking him some questions.
Get him in front of Congress, chat.
All right, now for...
I mean, if he's 95 years old, presumably he can talk because he just said, bring him to Congress. Chat, somebody find where Freiwart Winterberg is. I definitely need to hit that guy up.
Speculation based upon a lot of research. How does this flying triangle manage?
Actually, chat, I'm having an epiphany right now. Somebody find out where Freiwart Winterberg is. I might actually just go drive out there and go find him. If he actually can have a conversation, I might just go find this guy. Freiwart Winterberg is my spirit animal. I know he knows. I know 100%, no doubt. If I show the videos, the MH270 videos of Freiwart Winterberg, he's going to be like, oh, who stole my fusion propulsion? And it's floating around in the sky. We need to find him. Is he in Reno? Shit, chat. Might have to go out to Vegas. Might have to head out to Nevada.
To create anti-gravity. It's a big, bold claim. I have an abstract here that is going to be very technical, and only a few people are probably going to be able to interpret what I'm saying.
Vortex lasers and radioactive plasma for fusion propulsion? Holy smokes.
So let me just blast through this, and then I'll get through all the next following slides with a little easier descriptions. You have a toroidal chamber. You ionize hydrogen or some other ionizable material in that chamber to create a plasma. You seed that plasma with a small amount of beta-decaying radioactive material. One majestic document I found suggested cesium-147 would be good. I followed that up. Turns out cesium-147 has an exquisite branching decay chain with like 3 or 4 different decaying, beta-decaying isotopes to come out of it, which means that you're getting electrons every time this thing decays.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Got him, baby. We've been wondering. Here's the big rub, right? Okay, you got this plasma fusion thing, but how is it? What's the fuel? How's this working, right? It can't just be using the air, but it is. It's mostly using the air, and they have a small onboard tank for whatever little catalyst they have to throw in there. In this case, cesium or whatever bullshit. I didn't even know cesium was a real thing. I thought it was from Rick and Morty. So they could do cesium. Maybe there's some other elements they could use, but you sprinkle a little of that in there. Sprinkle a little crack on them. Sprinkle a little crack on them, and now you've got your propulsion. And you can use all the rest of the elements directly from the air or from the water. They can probably use the water as well, guys. Not just the air, but the water too. I'm going to do a couple super chats real quick. If macroscopic tunneling, thank you very much, Jacob Brainard, appreciate you. If macroscopic tunneling can happen in a lab, what would it look like in nature? I mean, we know what it would look like in nature now, right? Like, we've seen it. Macroscopic quantum tunneling. I think there's a part of this that also explains how this works here as well in a second. This is what it looks like. It's going to just literally disappear out of space-time. What's happening is that the wormhole, the distortion of space-time, has the same appearance as an event horizon because of the distortion of space-time. The fact that you distort space-time at all causes this event horizon to occur, and that's why we see this black blob, which is like an X-ray blob of photons. But this is why it looks like the plane just like vanishes through a mirror. It looks like it's doing a disappearing act. That's the reason why. Okay. Timothy Foster, thank you very much, says, good evening, Ashton and fellow Orbeez. Have a great evening. Thank you very much. And then Sam Fisher, do you think it's possible to manufacture small-scale orbs? Yeah, I think so. Something like the size of a bird or a consumer drone. I think it's scale invariant, but I think you have to solve the math to figure out, okay, however big you need this to be, you got to do the numbers, whatever. I think that theoretically you can make them almost any size. So they probably started off small and they started scaling it up. That would be my guess. And then, hey, Ocean, talk about femtosecond plasma laser propulsion. I think they're going to dig into it here in a second. So here we go.
So you seed it with this beta decaying isotope. You then structure the plasma using its plasma frequency with RF. This is how you're going to create oscillating plasma mirrors. Those plasma mirrors are going to create parametric amplification of incident X-ray.
Yeah, we got to slow down. How did he, with the plasma becomes a mirror? Chat. Did I hear that correctly? The plasma itself becomes the mirror? So the plasma is actually going to cause the photons to bounce back towards like the inside of it? Well, that would explain why you would see like a roiling sun-like surface. It wouldn't look like just a straight up ball of like light that's shooting out. It would look weirder than that. Like, yeah, the non-radiating boundary. The non-radiating boundary. I need to hear that last 10 seconds again.
Structure the plasma using its plasma frequency with RF. This is how you're going to create oscillating plasma mirrors. Those plasma mirrors are going to create parametric amplification of incident X-ray. So
you hit the right frequency, right? Hit the right frequency, and then you have parametric oscillation. We've spoken about parametric oscillation. Parametric amplification via parametric oscillation. So this is theoretically how they are amplifying energy. Oscillation.
Laser beams. Because these laser beams are going through the plasma that is structured, instead of dispersing, they're going to be focused, and they're going to get a twist to them, orbital angular momentum. That twist to this laser beam in the plasma is going to lead to very, very high electric and magnetic field strengths, the kind that are necessary for fusion and potentially even for metric engineering of space-time.
That's how they're doing it.
Booyah!
Yes! Finally! Someone explained it in a way I could understand. So the plasma is what's allowing the energy amplification that they need. They are amplifying the energy of the laser by turning it into a vortex. And who was it? It was Miley. It was George Miley. George Miley was talking about trying to get the beams to come together, right? And he told this story. He said, this guy had me come out to do his research. He was trying to get these beams of lasers to intersect, to ride over each other. And he said it was hard, though, because it was like trying to get onto a moving train. You got the train moving, you're trying to hitch a ride onto it. He said he found a way to solve it, but he didn't explain how he solved it. Now we know how he solved it. You don't try to combine them together. Have the beams form a vortex, probably a helical vortex, a helix, much like DNA. Helical vortex of laser plasma beams. And why? Because that will amplify the electromagnetic field strength. Why? Because of the right-hand rule in electrical engineering. That's why we use a vortex. That's why it's a plasmoid and not just like a stable ball. Everything, the plasma doesn't want to be a sphere. I mean, the magnetic field lines do, but the plasmoid itself doesn't want to be a sphere. The plasmoid wants to be this woundy thing that's all vortexy, that shoots beams out, axial beams out of it. Wow. Okay, let me go back like 10 more seconds because this is like the full Yahtzee right here.
To this laser beam in the plasma is going to lead to very, very high electric and magnetic field strengths, the kind that are necessary for fusion and potentially even for metric engineering of space-time.
Metric engineering.
When you exceed the Schwinger
the plasma frequency is harnessed with RF to construct oscillating plasma mirrors, which in turn instigate parametric amplification and focusing of X-ray free electron lasers. That's what it is, baby. That's what it is. X-ray free electron laser. Yeah, that is what it is, baby. That is what it is. Go look at the DIRDs, chat. The Defense Intelligence Reference Documents. Free electron laser. That thing's, baby. That thing's at the top of the list. We are going to get all your secrets. Every single one of your secrets, your laser beams, your magical nukes, your inverting implosive nukes fusion, your plasma orbs that can float around, their weird triangle formations that they're making, your free energy microchips. Oh, we're taking it all. We're taking it all. This is going to be better than the new Robin Hood movie. We're going to just straight up steal your technologies, steal your ideas. So good.
Schwinger limit, you boil the space-time, you start getting electron-positron pairs, something called pair production. There's some papers out there, there's some research out there that suggests that if you oscillate these particle pairs, these matter-antimatter pairs, if you oscillate them, you can create gravity waves, you can create gravitons. That right there is the secret sauce. That's the biggest part.
That is the secret sauce. If you can oscillate them, if you can pulse it, you can create gravitons. Graviton is a point-like representation of gravity. So what can you do if you pulse this? Just like we learned from Chance Glenn. Chance Glenn says, we can make a gravity wave. Making a gravity wave is easy. Just pulse some energy into a region and then relax it, and then pulse again and relax it again. And what will happen? You'll make a gravity wave. And then, according to Sal Pais's patents, according to his papers, you'll fall into the gravity wave. Just like the orbs, they put their X-ray laser beam in front of them, and they fall into the X-ray laser beam in front of them. Boom. Laser propulsion. Plasma laser propulsion. Hitting every buzzword, triple word score.
Is if you oscillate electrons and positron pairs, you're going to be able to create anti-gravity or your own artificial gravity. All right, so to break this down, orbital angular momentum, it's a vortex. You shine a laser, it puts a twist on that laser, and because you put a twist on it, you get higher energy densities at the center. In order to create a twist on it, it has to go through some kind of medium that's going to change the phase of the wavefront of that. So instead of having pulses, you're going to have a continuous spiral laser beam. The momentum can be transferred back and forth between the plasma and this laser beam. Very important. So whenever...
Whoa. Too fast, bro. What am I looking at here? Bro, what am I looking at? I'm doing ASMR here. What is this? Is that a sapphire crystal metamaterial that laser is going through right there? So the secret sauce right there is whatever that crystal is, right? So where it says spiral phase plate, that's either a squid, that's either a Josephson junction, or that must be a like sapphire crystal that they use for these high energy lasers or something like that. Like a chirped pulse metamaterial or something they're using for that. I mean, that's really dope though. So what did he just say? He said something about it creates, the beam becomes helical. So you shoot a normal laser through it. Bro, wait a minute. Is that actually a Josephson junction? I think it's literally a Josephson junction doing that. Huh. Because it changes the phase. That's what a Josephson junction does. He didn't really explain this that well. I might have to ask him. I need to talk to this guy. Oh, there's another one here. Angular momentum. Yeah, there it is. Wow. Holy, look at that image on the bottom right. Look at what it does. Look at that vortex it creates. Yeah. I think we can actually see the X-ray lasers spiraling in the MH370 video. I think that's why when we look at the MH370 video, when we look at the orbs, you see this black line in front of them, but it's not solid. The black line almost looks like it's a little bit pixelated. The reason why it looks that way is because it's a spiral of a bunch of beams together. So you're like able to kind of see through it sometimes.
Laser, and because you put a twist on it, you get higher energy densities at the center.
So yeah, you put a twist on it and you get higher energy densities. So how do we put a twist on it?
In order to create a twist on it, it has to go through some kind of medium that's going to change the phase of the wavefront of that. So instead of having pulses, you're going to have a continuous spiraled laser.
Oh, yes, baby. Oh, Josephson junction. So you make a Josephson junction, you pulse your laser through the Josephson junction, and it's going to change the phase of the wave of the laser. Is that why they're using these Josephson junctions for everything? Huh. Neat. I think that's what it is. Could be something else, but that's where Spidey sense chat. My Spidey sense is tingling on this one.
The moment
Is Jarod in the chat? Is he in the chat? I don't know. Someone tell me if he is.
momentum can be transferred back and forth between the plasma and this laser beam. Very important. So whenever you take a plasma and you move the plasma, it's a conductor, so it's going to create a current, an electric current. Well, that electric current is going to create a magnetic field, which is going to interact with the plasma. So now you have a very nonlinear, chaotic thing going on, where this plasma is when this plasma is moving, it's creating fields that are causing different movement, chaotic waves inside the plasma. This has been a big problem for inertial confinement.
Yeah, these alpha waves. Oh, and is that from Pan Yang? Thank you very much for following along. I appreciate you. I get a little bit worried when people from other countries, especially if they're from adversarial countries, are following along, because good things don't happen to people that are researching this stuff. But I'm glad we're getting the knowledge out there. Obviously, I want you to watch. That's why I'm doing this. So Alphan waves. Guys, did you guys know that magnetohydrodynamics is literally the study of plasma waves using magnetism? Because that's how you manipulate plasma. Winterberg. Oh, yeah. So plasma fusion also relies on Alphan waves. Now, Alphan waves, I forget what his, he has like a theory about black holes too, right? I think he does. If a conducting liquid is placed in a constant magnetic field, every motion of liquid gives rise to electromagnetic frequencies which produce electric currents. Due to the magnetic field. So here's the big rub, guys. You want to know what the big secret of this is? It's not really a secret. It's like it's common knowledge, but people just don't think of the significance. Plasma produces its own electromagnetic fields. So let me give you an analogy for my Minecraft players out there. Okay. You can't put an ender chest inside of a shulker box. Actually, you might be able to, but in some servers you can't, because a shulker box lets you store basically like it's a bag of infinite stuff inside of it. So if you put something that can be like infinite inside of something else that's infinite, you get to this unlimited pit of, how many layers deep are you? That's essentially what we have going on here. Actually, I don't even know if that was a good analogy. Okay, never mind.
Fusion for a long time.
I tried, chat. I tried.
So if you put a laser through the plasma, it's probably going to want to disperse.
Actually, okay, so I remember what I was trying to say. So basically, the plasma produces its own electromagnetic field, which manipulates the plasma itself. That was all I wanted to say. So the plasma produces electromagnetic field. If you produce an electromagnetic field powerful enough on your plasma, then you should be able to get to a point where the plasma's electromagnetic field stabilizes the plasma itself. That's what I wanted to say. There we go. I got you there. Now think about that. The plasma's electromagnetic field stabilizes the plasma itself, potentially with just a little bit of input. Maybe you need no input. Maybe you just need a little bit. Yeah, this presentation is really good.
However, you are able to prevent that and instead focus it by oscillating the plasma at its RF or at its plasma frequency using RF.
We're going to probably skip ahead a little bit, though.
This is how you're going to take the natural orbital angular momentum twisting of the laser beam, and you're going to squeeze that real tight, and you're going to be able to twist it even tighter. When you do that, eventually, what I'm getting to is I think it's possible that the Schwinger limit has been exceeded. The official story is that it's not been exceeded, even though Slack Linear Collider managed to do it in 1995, 1996 and create 100 particle pairs, but most folks don't seem to talk about that for some reason. Anyways, it takes some very, very, very high electric or magnetic field densities to be able to convert energy into matter, which is the boiling of space-time, the Schwinger limit. That is 1.3 exavolts, 10 to the 18 volts per meter. That is almost 4.5 gigatesla. It's such high and strong energy fields that it's really even hard to comprehend. When you do that, though, space-time starts stretching and squeezing in weird ways, such that waves that would normally propagate the same in all directions now propagate one direction differently than they propagate the other direction. So when you exceed this, you start to produce these particle-antiparticle pairs. This graph I have on the lower right, take it.
So this is the big rub. This is where we fall into the roadblock against academia, because academia comes back and says the Schwinger limit is this huge limit. There's no way we can do that. And I actually questioned Avi Loeb in a live stream and I think in an X space as well. And he said, oh, if that was true, then the Large Hadron Collider would have seen it. The Large Hadron Collider at CERN, he says, if we were seeing this manipulation of space-time, this Schwinger limit break, we would see it. Well, like Jarod just said there, apparently there was a 1995 or something laser beam experiment where they had particle pairs were produced, meaning the virtual photons were turned into real photons, which basically means we produced light from nowhere. We produced light. So we've actually done it before. And of course, we've done it before. In fact, I would argue that dynamic Casimir effect might be some analogous or some analog to that. Okay. So Sal Pais is the one who's talked about the Schwinger. I didn't even know the Schwinger limit was a thing until I spoke to Salvatore Pais. And he's the one that's saying, like, yep, we can hit this energy level. Now, the reason why this instantly stood out to me was because the way the orbs converge before they zap the plane in the MH370 videos. That, to me, told me that what we're looking at is an amplification. Why did the orbs come together like this? There's only one reason. They're coming together because they're about to initiate this phase transition. Call it whatever you want to call it. Detonation, implosion, whatever. The reason why the plane's not being teleported right now is because the orbs are far apart. When the orbs come together, according to the electric force equation, when distance goes down, force shoots up exponentially. Exponentially. I mean, once again, this is just straight up physics math. You've got three charged balls of plasma converging on one another. I imagine that the moment their electric magnetic fields connect, boom, oops, zap, poof. Damn, we're really talking about nukes, chat. Nukes on Labor Day. You love it.
With a big old grain of salt. The Schwinger limit is not a hard and fast limit. It's a quantum thing going on. So you got probabilities instead. Like once you just hit the limit, you started producing pairs, but you're not at like 100% conversion of energy to matter. So in this graph that I got, that ChatGPT, unabashedly, ChatGPT helped me with this thing. So like I said, take it with a grain of salt. But the idea is at 1.7, 10 to the 18 volts per meter, you're now at about 2/3, goes by name of Froning.
Okay, we need this. Oh, okay.
Producing more.
It's just yachts
Since
after
it's
yachts.
a very nonlinear quantum probability thing. Do not rely on this graph for anything other than just a mental model.
Here we go.
In 1997, there was a propulsion conference. Teller attended.
Exactly. People are like, is it a weapon? Is it a tool? What's the difference, chat? What's the difference? The difference is how you use it. A hammer is a weapon if I go hit somebody with it. But otherwise, I can knock a nail into the wall. Right? This stuff is a weapon, but it's also a tool, and that's why they didn't give it to us. The reason why we don't have free energy is because it's also a weapon. If there was no danger to this technology, no risk associated with this technology, they would have just given it to us. But there's a serious well, let's not go that far, actually. Let's not say they would definitely have given it to us, but more than likely would have given it to us. There's a real danger aspect to this, but, you know, YOLO. The reason why the danger aspect is secondhand to, you know, disclosing this is because they've been lying for like 60 years, man. Not only have they been lying for like 60 years, they have no plans to tell us this anytime soon. Unless we had done this, no way were they going to say anything. Never. You think what? You think like they've had since 2014 minimum. And we know they've had orbs before then. Where's fusion? Where is fusion? When's that going to happen? They're never going to give us this stuff. They're never going to do it.
One of the guys that presented at this conference goes by the name of Froning. In this conference, he had a presentation where he suggested...
Froning? David Froning? David Froning of the dense plasma focus paper with Frank Mead and George Miley, the one that I said that, like, this is the paper I might have to pull it up, chat. Dense plasma focus. I mean, I just sit here and I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is just, it's weird for me also, guys. If you think it's weird for you. Hold on. Oh, crap. Dense plasma focus Miley. There it is. Okay, here we go. This is from the, what website? The military's website. So this was like, I think this came out. Hold on. Let me switch over. Must have come out from a FOIA request or something. Propulsion and power generation capabilities of a dense plasma focused fusion system for future military aerospace vehicles. Post print. I mean, here, let me get rid of the face here so you can just see. My favorite part about this is, first of all, it says right here, they're using proton boron fusion right here. Right there. That's what this is. P11B, boron 11 fusion. They're using aneutronic boron fusion to produce a Q factor of 3 for an ISP. This is like the efficiency of the engine. That's just beyond anything you could have dreamt of. And it says excess power generation for communication systems, pulsed train plasmoid weapons, which now we know what that means, ultra high powered lasers, super or shielding cloaking devices, and or gravity or time distorting devices. Manipulate time and space. Anyone? Hold on. Wait for it, chat. Wait for it. Where is it?
We seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along. But we are capable of so much more.
Michael Kratsios, Science and Technology Advisor of the White House. What are we capable of? What are we capable of, Michael Kratsios? Let me put you on the big screen so all 800 people can listen very closely right now to what he's about to say. What are we capable of, Michael Kratsios?
Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow and improve productivity.
Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. That is oddly specific. Hey, oh, look, that's exactly what it says right there in this paper by David Froning, George Miley, and Franklin Mead about plasmoids, dense plasma focus, turning it into a drone that can fly around, gravity and time distorting devices from the year 2005. 2005, chat. When the United States comes knocking on my door, telling me to stop talking about this, I'm going to say, shut the hell up. You've been lying about this shit for like 60 years, and now the crows have finally come home to roost. The chickens have come home to roost. You made your bed. You decided a long time ago you were just going to lie about this forever, and you got caught. You got caught, and now you're effed. That's what I'm going to say to them when they come and tell me to stop. You got caught, you're fucked, and now you need to tell the truth, admit that what you did was wrong, and get everybody lined up for the firing squad, because that's what's going down. No amnesty, death penalty. Death penalty so that this never happens ever again. Okay. But we were just hiding science because we thought it was going to destroy the planet if we hid the science. Please don't put us in the firing squad. I wasn't just profiting off all this technology secretly. My name's Chris Mellon, and my whole family's been profiting off of insider information, ill-gotten goods for decades. Yeah, we're going to take all your money too. We're going to literally seize your wealth, seize your assets. Anybody connected to hiding this, all your money is being taken away. All your money is being taken away. So if you want to not go whistleblower, if you think your best bet is to shut up and hide, never let me catch you slipping. Never let me catch you slipping. I guarantee you, this is Ashton Forbes on September 1st. I catch you slipping, I am going to blow up your spot for the rest of your life. I'm going to put pressure on the government to arrest you, take everything from you, and give you capital punishment. Never let me catch you slipping. The best thing you can do is come out and tell the truth about this right now. If you are one of the people who's in the know about this, that knows we have this technology, knows we've been doing this, you need to go testify to Congress. You need to go testify to Congress. The first thing you should say in your opening remarks, in your introduction to Congress is, do you guys know that Ashton Forbes guy on the internet? He's right. That's the very, very first thing you should say. You don't need to say anything else. That'll be enough. Just go in front of Congress and say, Ashton Forbes is right. That's it. Then watch the media firestorm.
That you can modify gravity if you have a very highly polarized beam of some kind. He said that if you can move electromagnetic fields through a toroid with single windings, similar to Ford's rotational field, I'll describe that a little later, that's how you're going to be able to accomplish some kind of metric engineering, some kind of EM gravity.
I mean, people are like, hey, how do you manipulate gravity? Oh, I don't know. Maybe you should just read David Froning's presentation from 1997. 1997 AIAA, Joint Propulsion Conference. I don't know. Gravity itself can be modified with a beam of polarization. Vector potential conditioned electromagnetic fields can also be moved through a toroid with single windings. David Froning, right there.
If you accelerate a plasma, a lot of cool things happen, and you can actually get superluminal plasmas. Alarm bells are going off in a lot of people's heads. Nothing is superluminal. False. Some things can be superluminal. The group velocity can be superluminal, while the phase velocity is not.
Group velocity can be superluminal, while phase velocity is not. Chad, I'm not going to pretend like I know what that means. I'm going to say that what it sounds like to me is that you can teleport, you just can't break causality. That's what it sounds like to me. You can teleport, but you can't break causality, which that's what I've already concluded from researching the science of wormholes, physics, EPR experiments. Everybody's saying that you can't violate causality, at least not yet. We don't think so. So I think that's what he's saying here. Superluminal plasmas. Okay, I can tell where this is going.
So I'm not going to get into it too much, but the gist is that the wave front of a plasma, certain things can occur where the refractive index of the vacuum changes enough that the wavefront of this plasma is now actually exceeded the speed of light.
We're modifying the vacuum. The lasers are modifying the vacuum, changing the permittivity of the vacuum. And when you change the permittivity of the vacuum, you literally change how the equations work. You change the speed of light. The speed of light is a function of the vacuum permittivity and permeability. So if you're creating these super powerful lasers that are changing the permittivity of the vacuum, from the outside perspective, we're going to see different physical effects occur. This is how magic happens. This is how, for the people inside of the plane, it just looked like they were all of a sudden over here, and then they got poof. Now they're just somewhere else, but it didn't seem like anything weird happened. Maybe they would have to be disoriented for a minute. But from the outside perspective, it looks like the plane is just being sucked away almost. Because we're changing the permittivity of the vacuum. So when people wonder, why does it look like the plane just vanishes through a mirror? Why does it look like the clouds aren't dispersing away? Because they've changed the permittivity of the vacuum itself. They're modifying space-time. Polarizable vacuum. Space-time metric engineering.
Here's a paper by a guy from 1989 where this gets described a little bit better.
Look at
when
this.
You ionize a gas, photoionize a gas, like with a laser. Let's say you photoionize hydrogen. The refractive index goes from the normal refractive index of the vacuum, which is 1, down to 0, which means infinite speed of light rather than the speed of light limit of c at 1.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. We are rolling up our sleeves. The modified permittivity of the vacuum goes to 0. The default permittivity of the vacuum is 1. 1. We think it's a constant. It's not. So if you laser beam up your shit, you beam it up with some helical laser beams, then what happens? The permittivity of the vacuum goes to 0. Even when it approaches 0, what happens to the speed of light? It goes to infinity. So what does that mean? That means if your light beam was over here, it can go over here instantaneously. Instantaneously. Because we can't even see it, because the speed of light is now moving faster than our speed of light. Our outside frame of reference is moving faster than our frame of reference can even see. That's why it's literally teleportation. That's real teleportation. Real teleportation is an optical illusion, but it's also real in the same way that this could be a simulation, but it's also real. Teleporting an object is an illusion. It's an illusion because you're just tricking space-time into thinking, oh, I'm over here or I'm over here. But really all that's happening is you're changing the permittivity of a region. So from an outside perspective, it looks like you teleported. From the perspective of the person inside the bubble, it's like, oh, I'm here and now I'm just over here. I was always over here, right? There you go. Ooh.
That's a big, bold claim. But that's the claim that I'm getting towards for how this craft operates. This moving plasma mirror, this wavefront of the plasma, is able to exceed the speed of light, and as it does so, it's Doppler shifting all of the incident laser beam frequencies ahead of it, blue shifting them, and it's increasing the energy density significantly when it does that. The scooping up of these frequencies is called a chirp. You'll find that in a lot of other ionosphere type research and other plasma research.
You just say chirp? Like chirp pulse amplification? I'm pretty sure it's the same chirp.
Chirps are very useful for tracking down this stuff. A side note here, Dr. Winterberg made a comment about Schwinger's sonoluminescence model. Sonoluminescence is like the cavitation of water bubbles, creates like a little fusion light pulse in the center of it. And the idea is that there's some 0-point energy that might be getting released from there. So Winterberg, who deals with plasmas, said that in exploding wires or plasmas, where the permittivity is less than 1, you'll end up getting these voids in between the plasmas that ends up releasing 0-point energy. 0-point energy in this case would be the...
Wow. Wait a minute. This is so many Yahtzees all at once right now. Julian Schwinger had a sonoluminescence model? How has nobody brought this up before? How have I not figured that? Julian Schwinger, the Schwinger Limit guy, had a sonoluminescence model. If you don't know what sonoluminescence is, literally light. Light just from sound waves in water. Looks like 0-point energy to me, chat. So the way we should be thinking about 0-point energy is like squeezing the sponge. Squeeze the sponge and what shoots out? Water. Well, we squeeze our sponge of space-time and what shoots out? Light. Light comes out. Photons come out. Interesting.
Conversion of virtual particles into real particles. So these plasma mirrors. Once you get above the Schwinger limit, if you got a moving plasma front that's going really fast and you shoot a laser beam directly at that moving thing, it's going to reflect that laser beam. And because it's going at hyperrelativistic speeds, it's going to end up blue shifting it. You're going to get amplification and especially higher harmonic generation. That blue shifting means that you're increasing the frequency of this laser beam. So you're going from terahertz up to, say, petahertz, like we saw in the dolphin experiment. They're saying that this is one potential method for generating attosecond pulses of light, which is the kind of pulse speeds that you need if you're going to be dealing with fusion.
Attosecond pulses of light are what you need if you're going to deal with fusion. Oh, well, hey, let's go check the history books, chat. Oh, look, attosecond laser won the Nobel Prize in 2023. Wow, will you look at that, chat? Hold on. Let me get it. Where is it? There we go. Attosecond laser? Nobel Prize 2023. I wonder why it won the Nobel Prize, chat. Why did chirp pulse amplification win the Nobel Prize in 2017? Look at all these Nobel Prizes. All for super powerful lasers. I wonder why. Probably for no reason whatsoever. We don't even use powerful lasers for anything. Ugh. You know what? The military probably doesn't have anything more advanced than what people publicly had. There's no way the military could have attosecond lasers. We didn't win the Nobel Prize till 2023, right? That's how the world works. That's how the world works. Uh-huh.
Let's get into Sal Pais. If you're not familiar with Sal Pais, this guy came out a couple years ago with...
If you're not familiar with Sal Pais, I will be talking to him again on Sunday. I think he wants to do it live. I got to double check. So September 7th, I'm going to be talking to Sal Pais on September 7th. And I always give you guys like the first question because I want to get you guys, hyped up for it. What do you guys think my first question is going to be this time? Last time, the first question was, when was the first time you saw the MH370 videos and what did you think? My first question to Sal Pais this time. Do you work on nuclear weapons? That's going to be my first question. That's about where this interview is going to go, chat. So if you're interested in knowing whether or not Sal works on nuclear weapons, come check out the live stream on Sunday. One way or another, we're going to learn a lot of stuff. Okay, we might have to bring some stuff up that we see in this video too.
A couple of patents. One was for what looks like the TR3B. Another one's for fusion device, another's for room temperature superconductivity. He's got a lot of interesting ideas that, to me, sounds like he's either really deep on the inside or just really creative. I'm not really sure which of those two it is, but I'm going to give you the gist of what his idea is on how to create a craft like this. And it's similar, but not quite the same as what I'm going to be presenting. So to quote him from one of his recent interviews, he says that the Pais effect works like this. Controlled motion of electrically charged matter, plasma, from solid to plasma states, subjected to accelerated vibration and or accelerated spin via rapid acceleration transients. To put that into a little simpler to understand language, if you look at that picture in the lower right, you see all that shadowed edge around the triangle. That's an RF cavity where he is ionizing plasma using RF. This resonant plasma cavity is supposed to be able to eventually exceed the Schwinger limit. There's some other stuff going on there. He refuses to reveal some of the secret sauce about this stuff.
So here's the thing. People wonder, why is Sal? Why is he like, he doesn't, it's clear from his patents and his papers that it's not all in there, right? Like, he doesn't have specific numbers and things like that. And we've interviewed him multiple times and he's said, we're not going to talk about specific numbers and things like that. Well, it's pretty clear why. He works on nukes, guys. Of course he works on nukes. Why do you think Sal Pais is going in every interview, says he got some weird disclaimer at the beginning about how he's a private citizen and he's not here to help our adversaries? Why? What kind of things do you think he'd be working on that he has to make a disclaimer like that ahead of time? Nukes, chat. That's the reason why he's so scared when he comes and talks and why he's careful about what he says. We're definitely talking to a guy who is a nuclear engineer, right? The exact nukes that he builds, my guess is he's not even allowed to acknowledge that he works on nukes. So I imagine that his response is going to be something like, I can't talk about that, or who knows? He might even have to lie. I don't know what the protocol is for if you work on nukes, but we're going to find out.
My personal suspicion as to why he's doing that is because there's a
Pais
flying triangle down at Area 51. After he had talked to a bunch of his coworkers down there, he eventually was able to glean the following information about how this thing worked. He said that
I'm going to skip through this part, but this is interesting. So there is a lot of history around liquid mercury going all the way back to the Nazis, that potentially the Nazis were spinning liquid mercury to achieve these anti-gravitational effects. Like, this might have been one of the first elements that we were playing around with, that we started to see these, we would call it gravity manipulation, but some types of effects, like maybe even small level, but maybe even a larger scale, who knows? So in this, I'll just read some of this here. It says that mercury-based cup rate would be in a superconductive state. So superconductivity comes around a lot. It says if the crystal has no ordered permanent dipole moment, but we are near the phase transition, which is where such a dipole is established, the rotation will produce big effects, which go to infinity as the transition temperature is approached. Edward Teller, Electromagnetism and Gravitation, 1976. Okay, we need to read that. Let me write that down because I'm going to be reading that right after this live stream. And Edward Teller knows. So if I see some shit by Edward Teller that is like on the nose like that, so what he's saying right here, I mean, do you guys see the words that are right there? Let me just say it again for you. I'm going to read it without it up, so I'll just read it to you again. This is a direct quote from Edward Teller. If the crystal has no ordered permanent dipole moment, but we are near a phase transition, imagine the orbs coming together on the plane where such a dipole is established. You would establish the dipole where one half of the dipole is on the plane. Here's our little MH370. Pew, pew, pew. We have one dipole here, and we have one dipole over here. We're establishing the dipole in our phase transition. The phase transition is when the plane goes pew, and then presumably reappears over here. And then it says, the rotation will produce big effects which go to infinity. That's exactly what I would expect we're seeing when the orbs are coming together. The orbs are converging. Energy is going to infinity. Eventually you hit the Schwinger limit. Peace out. You're gone.
Plasma.
Okay, and then Robert Forward.
On the edge of that craft, that'd be about 1 kilohertz frequency. A side note that I must say, many of the people who have witnessed this craft just think Ed Fouché's numbers. If you notice, HG, Mercury, 1212, there are certain new apparatus.
Oops.
Are electrically polarized materials.
So Robert Forward's rotational field, guys. Robert Forward is literally the mentor for Eric W. Davis. Guys, I got to make one of these web map things. Okay, probably by Wednesday, I'm going to have one of these web map things up with like all the scientists. We at least need to have one with all the engineers on it. Robert Forward is literally Eric W. Davis's mentor, and Eric W. Davis is sitting next to Anna Paulina Luna in Congress as a whistleblower. He's not whistleblowing about aliens, chat. He's not whistleblowing about aliens, chat. What do you think Eric W. Davis is whistleblowing? Let's look at his scientific papers. Traversable wormholes, dark energy, or traversable wormholes, stargates, and negative energy. Teleportation physics study. Ball lightning study. Oh, maybe he was trying to figure out how to make 3 balls of energy spin around and teleport a plane away. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Are certain nuances to that. You can treat a plasma under certain conditions as if it's an electret. So
you can treat a plasma under certain conditions as though it were an electret. That would mean you can control the dipole moment. So the electrets, like I think are little, like, I don't know, it's like a little electric dipole that you can turn off or on or flip upside down. Like imagine a magnet that you could flip around however you want to flip it. That's what I think an electret is, where you can hold a charge in a certain way or hold a dipole.
At the beginning of this talk, I said that you needed to pay attention to that red ring that was on the underside of the flying triangle for the BBC picture. If you look closely at that, you can see these curved filaments coming off of it that strongly resemble that tokamak winding right next to it, which is the same geometry that Robert Ford from Hughes Research talks about with his idea back in the 60s or 70s about Ford's rotational field. He suggested that if you pumped a superconductive liquid mercury through those pipes at the same time that you rotate the entire apparatus, you should be able to generate extreme electromagnetic forces that reduce the mass and eventually are able to create their own artificial gravitic field.
So the hot fusion people are not all wrong. Toroids, a donut, is the right shape. It is the right shape. So the funny part about hot fusion is like somebody gave them like one clue, but it wasn't enough to figure it out. So they're like, hey, we're gonna make our fusion reactor the shape of a donut. But the donut's only one aspect of it. The donut's producing its own electromagnetic field. And the shape of that electromagnetic field is more of like a helical winding around a toroid. And the windings don't want to combine. Just like if I have my plasma globe, you can see these little tendrils shooting out. But the tendrils are always staying like far enough away from one another.
Very interesting. Very interesting overlap between the BBC image and Ford's idea. So we keep talking about superconductors. What's the deal with all these superconductors? Why is it got to be superconducting? Turns out there's more paper.
I didn't know about this, guys. If you are still with us here tonight, and actually we're getting more and more people, pay attention now. Because before I even watched this several weeks ago, I was saying that superconductors, the 90s superconducting technology was about figuring out how to produce magnets that are malleable. You can shape your magnet however you want to shape your magnet. And this is what we figured out with these super high powerful magnets, which now we have magnets that are extremely powerful. Extremely powerful.
It's out there. When you use a superconductor, you are able to lower that 10 to the 18th volt, that exavolts requirement, down to the 100 megavolts requirement. I'm going to go into reasons on how.
Wait, what? So superconductors lower the energy requirement to hit the Schwinger limit? Yeah, I'll take 2. Heck, I'll take 3. How many orbs can we get? Superconductive harmonic orbs. Chat, Ashton Forbes might be a time traveler. He might also have psychic remote viewing capabilities. The jury's still out. Somehow I was able to tell that those were superconductive harmonic orbs way back in September of 2023. 2 years ago, before I did any scientific research. And now we're hearing researcher Jarod Yates confirm that his his research shows that there are at least claims that superconductors will lower the energy requirement to hit the Schwinger limit. Yep, definitely superconductive, chat. And now we wonder, why are they covering up LK99? LK99 is 100% real. 100% real. And when I say that, I don't mean people are like, everyone's so hyper specific on one specific aspect or one claim. We have figured out high temperature superconductors, like to the level of room temperature. Okay. And everyone's going, that's not possible. Ooh. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff that's not possible that we have. Okay.
That happens.
And actually, one more point. I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but the other thing about this is now we understand how the suppression works. We actually can tell now how the suppression works. Anything that enables this technology has to be suppressed. It's not just a matter of suppressing teleportation. It's not just a matter of suppressing plasma orbs. They have to suppress anything that leads to understanding that space is not empty. They have to suppress EM drive. They have to suppress any form of free energy. They have to suppress high-powered lasers, which is now apparently coming out anyway. The amount of stuff they have to suppress is huge. And they have to weigh which thing, how risky is it that if this comes out, it'll blow the lid off of everything. And do you know who makes that decision? Yes, you do, because we reviewed it. It's the JSON group. The JSON group is the ones making that decision, determining whether or not we're allowed to have X, Y, or Z to determine if it will infringe upon national security. A bunch of gatekeeping academic pieces of shit. If I find out anybody in the JSON group was hiding fusion free energy from the world, all your money is going to get taken away and you're going on in front of the firing squad. Either come out now as a whistleblower before it comes out. Come out now as a whistleblower. If you're in the JSON group and you know you've been covering up fusion because it's related to nukes, this is your one and only chance to come out. If this comes out 5-10 years later, you're going in front of the firing squad and we're taking every single penny you have. Every single penny you've made off of this through your whole career, through your engineering, through your black project, through your physics, through your academia, taking every penny you have and putting you to death. Your family will live in disgrace and have to change their name. And if you doubt me, well, guess what? I'm 42 years old. How old are you? I'm going to live a lot longer than you are. And my social media influence is only going up. I'm going to make sure you are vilified if you are somebody gatekeeping this technology. Once again, this is your one and only chance.
We got three people here. We got Ed Fouché at the top, we got Sal Pais in the middle, and we got Eugene Podkletnov at the bottom. If you're not familiar with Podkletnov, he had a rotating superconducting disc that he slapped with some megavolt, 2 to 5 megavolt charges, and he described 2% weight loss. So we got all these guys talking about superconductors. Well, Pais is talking about fusion and Schwinger limits. The idea is that when you have a superconductor, you have these things called Cooper pairs. The electrons pair up. But when the electrons pair up, that means that now as they're super highly energized in the superconducting plasma, you're starting to boil space-time. You're converting those virtual particles into actual electron-positron particles. It doubles the number of those because you've got Cooper pair doubles to begin with. Also, superconductors have a much reduced band gap, that tunneling gap required to cross energy levels. So there's a band gap between the virtual particle scene and the real physical world. That band gap is normally 10 to the 18 volts. Superconductors have a much reduced band gap. They are reducing that overall tunneling requirement from 10 to 18 down to 10 to the 8th.
So the band gap is part of the reason why the superconductors can bring down the tunneling requirement to 10 to the 8. I mean, that's 10 zeros, chat. That's 10. Wait, that's 10 zeros right there. The difference between 10 to the 18 and 10 to the 8, that's 10 orders of magnitude. That's a billion times, 10 billion times lower. Is this real? Yeah, someone fact check this. I mean, if this is real, this is the answer right there. I don't know how I've never seen this before. If Jarod Yates is correct about this, then there's your answer. Why are superconductors important? Well, we can hit the Schwinger limit 10 orders of magnitude lower. 10 orders of magnitude lower? Yeah, so I can see why they're going to cover up superconductivity. You want to know why they're covering up superconductivity? Because apparently you can just manipulate space-time really easily if you have superconductivity. Wow. Well, this is why now, yeah, somebody who just said Sal knows. I mean, this is why, right? I got to actually write this down. I got to ask about this. Schwinger limit. Because he said there might be ways to reduce the Schwinger limit, but he never elaborated. And you guys got to realize, like, why wouldn't Sal just tell me that? Why wouldn't Sal just say, like, the reason why superconductivity is important is because it reduces the Schwinger limit? If he said that, I have forgotten it. I don't remember him saying that. The reason why he's not saying, excuse me, the reason why he's not saying that is because it probably infringes on national security and he's afraid. Think about that. The reason why he didn't tell us, assuming that's correct, the reason why he didn't tell us is because it's a national security issue. Yeah, the applied voltage, though, to get it, right? I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood. I'll take another look at it in a second. Okay.
Well, if they reduce it down to 10 to the 8.
No, that is what it says. Creating the Schwinger limit requires high voltages, but these voltages can be brought down. Yeah, okay. So what? That's what I was saying.
And Eugene Podkletnov reduced it, or Eugene Podkletnov was dealing at about 2% of 10 to the 8, that 2 to 5 megavolts.
Yeah, so this is the reason why, like, if you look at Podkletnov, now we have something we can compare it to. So Podkletnov was doing 10 to the 6. So 10 to the 6 is still 2 orders of magnitude too low. But look, he saw 2% weight reduction, which is what you would expect. It'd be a very small effect if your voltage was not high enough. So the voltages we need, 10 to the 8. So 10 to the 8 is what, 100 million? 100 million, I think. 100 million volts. That's a lot.
And it just so happens he described 2% weight loss. Coincidences arise. There's a couple different ways that you can try to achieve this boiling of the space-time vacuum. I just described how you can do it with superconductors. Here's what happens when you include lasers into the mix. Normally, if you just shine 2 oncoming laser beams at each other, very high energy, the photons from those 2 will collide, and in that moment of collision, the energy will exceed the Schwinger limit, and you'll get particle pair production. However, there's something called the nonlinear Wright-Wheeler process, where instead of slamming them into each other, you just have an extremely highly strong energy density field like the plasma field. Instead of that lower picture there says laser field, replace that with plasma field. Now you shine a photon through from a laser, and you've already now reduced the amount of added energy that photon needs to have to be able to exceed the Schwinger limit. Side note.
So shooting a laser through a plasma can potentially also reduce the Schwinger limit. That's what I just heard right there. I didn't fully understand it, but I think because the plasma is already in an excited state, that it has something to do with that. So shooting a laser through the plasma can also potentially reduce the Schwinger limit. Very interesting.
Last year, there was a team with Dr. Newth. They went down. They were called UAPX. They went down to Santa Catalina Island down in California. They spent a week down there with a bunch of different measuring equipment. And while they were down there, they observed a few different UFOs. They measured a few different UFOs. One of the best measurements, they saw one off the coast. It was a couple kilometers away.
Okay, let's keep going.
And as it's going down there, those arrows that are tangential to the tube, they are magnets that are squeezing the wavefront of the
okay. I'm just gonna
plasma. So as you squeeze that wavefront, it accelerates that wavefront up to relativistic velocities, like I've been saying. What's cool is you get a Lorentz contraction of the front of this plasma wavefront that ends up increasing by orders of magnitude the magnetic field strength of that wavefront. He says that you can get thousands of Tesla, 10 to the 3, thousands of Tesla by doing this. Remember that number, because in a couple of slides it's going to come into play.
Thousands of Tesla? Thousands of Tesla. Chat, do you know how much Tesla is a lot of Tesla? Like 20 Tesla. 20 Tesla would be like a really, really, really powerful magnet. How about thousands of Tesla? Thousands of Tesla can cause Lorentz contraction at the beginning. Because what are they doing? They're squeezing the plasma. Didn't I just show a video of squeezed plasma the other day? Just like with a fire hose, right? You got your fire hose, you squeeze it, you can have more pressure. So they're definitely using like a magnetic nozzle to control the beam. And I think this is also connected to why the orbs only have a line in front of them right before they zap the plane. They're definitely charging up. They're definitely charging up. They're charging up.
Thousands of Teslas. Here's a more one-dimensional view.
I want to read what he said on that slide. Said, this is from Winterberg. Thermonuclear ignition for advanced propulsion. Electrons magnetically confined in a solenoid are compressed. Forming an intense, ultra-fast relativistic electron disk. The disk hits a thermonuclear target, converting its energy into magnetic energy, causing implosion and ignition. The process is highly efficient due to only the electromagnetic energy conversion and generates large magnetic fields. Yeah, okay. Magnetic wormholes, baby. Magnetic wormholes are so hot right now, chat. So hot. Magnetic wormhole. I love it. I love everything about this. Generates magnetic field strength of thousands of Tesla. It's more compact than a laser or particle beam methods, making it a promising propulsion concept if technically feasible. How much do you guys want to bet? How much do you guys want to bet Charles Chase, former Lockheed Martin, now Unlab? How much you want to bet Charles Chase knows Friedwart Winterberg? I would put the odds somewhere between 99.9% and 100%. Basically guaranteed. Guaranteed. Yeah. The more I look at this, the more I'm thinking Friedwart Winterberg, his thermonuclear physics might be the precursor to the orbs.
Thousands of Tesla. 10 to the bounces off the mirror and continues over to the right side of the image. As it's going through there, those little slashed dots on the bottom are little electromagnetic.
Oh, the other thing about the solenoid, which is interesting, because if you have what's a solenoid? What does solenoid come up with? Solenoid comes up regarding Ehrenhoff-Bohm effect. Why are there potential differences outside of the solenoid? Because your trapped solenoid is potentially compressing space-time. So if it's compressing space-time, you're going to see the reaction around the solenoid, which is what you see. If you shoot the electron past the solenoid, you see a phase change. Interesting.
We're switching closed in succession so as to accelerate that wavefront. Like I said, you can get thousands, you can get orders of magnitude increase in the magnetic field as this thing reaches relativistic velocities. Going back to Ray Stanford's images. So In 1980, Ray Stanford took this picture. He actually was videotaping this with an 8mm camera that had a polarizing tube on it. So it split one half of the polarization.
So this part is basically about like, what would you see if you saw this anti-gravitational technology, this gravity manipulation technology? You might see ripples, waves, you might see distortion, you might see blue shift. You're going to see all these physical effects that are going to come into play regarding this. So it's possible if these photos are real that we might be seeing stuff like that. And we should look at other videos that get leaked to look for like a little distortion bubble like around the object. Is how I imagine you would see these anti-gravitational effects coming around, being seen. Skip ahead a little bit.
This entire talk. Ed Teller.
Oh yes, more Ed Teller.
All right, another important paper, and this is one of the most exciting parts, I think.
What the hell? Space propulsion by fusion in a magnetic dipole? By Edward Teller? 1992? I didn't even get this far, chat, before tonight, so this is brand new. Holy smokes. Teller proposes fusion propulsion for long-duration space missions using a magnetic dipole configuration. Dense plasma. Look at this. Dense plasma, coil in the middle. This was in 1992. Potential for specific powers of 1 kilowatt per kilogram. They probably increased that. Oh, well, we definitely nailed it. Do people still doubt? Do they still doubt that UFOs and the stuff is connected to nukes? This is literally Edward Teller. This is Edward Teller, father of the thermonuclear bomb. Holy crap.
Ed Teller, 1992. Ed Teller leaks like
I might have to inject some marijuanas after this. My goodness.
Said all sorts of classified material in not so classified settings that MJ12 was very not happy with, but not a lot they could do about it.
Oh, this was supposed to be classified? Oh, yeah, this is why, right? So some of this stuff is leaking out. And yeah, this should have been classified. So they need stuff like this to be classified because otherwise someone could have figured it out. Now, nobody did. They got lucky until now. And then we saw those videos. And now we know exactly what they're hiding. And now we know why they were upset when this came out, right? Because if you know what you're looking for, you know how significant this is. Because you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to turn plasma into a drone. Trying to turn plasma into a drone.
1992, Ed Teller proposes this fusion-based propulsion device for long-duration space missions. I'm just going to focus your attention here to two things. First, look at the lower right image. Notice how we have these cryogenic temperatures, 4.2 Kelvin, 300 Kelvin, 900 Kelvin. We're not quite at the 150 Kelvin, but let's safely assume that he probably adjusted some numbers so that he didn't actually get ganked by MJ12. But also, in addition to that, notice those vertical bars on the lower half of the circles in that image. Those are the MHD, magnetohydrodynamic generators, which that research is all throughout SDI. They figured out how to be able to use this plasma to generate energy to be able to then cool the plasma. They cool that plasma. That's a super.
Holy shit. Did you just hear what he just said? I almost choked. They figured out how to extract energy from the plasma to cool the plasma. How are the orbs such a low temperature in the videos? How are the orbs such a low temperature? This is exactly what David Kirkley of Helium Fusion has been saying. How are they producing electric energy from these field reverse configurations? It's literally the same thing that Edward Teller said in this paper. Listen to this. I almost choked right there.
Get ganked by MJ12. But also, in addition to that, notice those vertical bars on the lower half of the circles in that image. Those are the MHD, magnetohydrodynamic generators. Which
he's looking in the bottom right over here. In the bottom right, you can see these temperatures, right? These are temperatures in the bottom right. These are temperatures over here. The middle one says 4.2 Kelvin. 4.2 Kelvin is nearly absolute zero. That's nearly absolute zero. So the point being, the middle of these orbs can be very cold. The middle of these orbs is really, really, really cold, chat. but they get warmer as they radiate outwards. They get warmer as they radiate outwards. And this is how you can keep the plasma cool. This is why we have plasma balls that are not super hot like the sun. Listen to this. Ready?
That research is all throughout SDI.
Yeah, by the way, guys, when I talk about aneutronic fusion, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. This is what they were talking. This is like the precursor to aneutronic fusion right here.
They figured out how to be able to use this plasma to generate energy to be able to then cool the plasma.
They figured out how to use this plasma to generate energy to then cool the plasma. Yeah. Yeah, it's called field reverse configuration. It's called helium fusion. You better start investing in helium fusion because they've clearly been selected to be the one. And by the way, we're going to go ahead and expose helium fusion. I'm going to make it super awkward for their IPO because I'm going to go ahead and let everybody know that they're a winner and that they've been selected by the government to win. Unfair advantage. 100% unfair advantage by helium fusion. They either should be sued out of existence or they should fess up and tell the truth and let everybody else compete as well. It's pretty bullshit that the DOE basically picked them to be the ones to be successful. And Peter Thiel just gets to make billions of dollars off of them because he has insider information. Peter Thiel should go to prison. That's where Peter Thiel should be, is in prison because he clearly has insider information from the CIA, which is illegal. 100% illegal, belongs in prison.
They cool that plasma. That's a superconducting magnet or superconducting plasma. They're in the center where a lot of the magic happens. Now for the really good part. Figure 3 from this paper. On the leftmost image there, where you got the same circular image from figure 9, you can see we got this egg-shaped magnetic field going on around this device. Side by side, I got Ray Stanford's image there, where you can also see it's kind of egg-shaped. It's a little hard to see. So let me go on to this one, where I'm going to go back and forth. Rings from, you're able to use the, it's not even exhaust, stuff around them. And then we got, last thing from this paper. In Ray's picture.
Bro, we have got to check this paper. We have got to get this paper on the Discord ASAP. Holy shit. Is he about to say what I think he's about to say right here? Is he going to say something about shooting X-rays as propulsion here in a second? I haven't watched this part yet. I kind of skipped at the end. Holy crap.
There, you can see we got these clouds coming off underneath this thing. Figure 4 from Ed's paper. You know, at the top there, we got those egg-shaped magnetic fields and how those end up ionizing stuff around them. And that ionized material then gets ejected beneath it as it's also getting neutralized in its charge. That's part of the whole neutral particle beam stuff from SDI.
Oh, so maybe they're neutral particles. Is that what's going on? The neutral particles are being expelled? Is that what's happening? Expel the neutral particles to stay in non-equilibrium? Something like that?
Anyways, you're able to use the, it's not even exhaust, it's just the surrounding medium. You're able to use the surrounding medium as additional vector potential, which is fascinating. I mean, talk about efficient. All right, putting it all together.
Before we put it all together, did you guys know that the idea of Lockheed Martin being nationalized was being floated in the news the other day? Like, as in, like, they were looking into the situation with Lockheed Martin? How insane is that? Lockheed Martin, 97% of their revenue comes from the federal government. Like, yeah, we probably should be nationalizing these companies. Probably should be.
Put a lot out there for y'all. Here's what it is when you put it all together. You ionize a plasma with a really strong laser. As that ionized material becomes a plasma, you start accelerating that wavefront of plasma up to relativistic or even super relativistic speeds. It then ignites some fissile material. You create some fusion. Once you have fusion, now you got enough energy that you can start really going to town. You can use these relativistic plasma mirrors with instant laser beams at approximately 400 to 1,000 hertz of instant laser beams hitting these plasma mirrors. You're going to get parametric amplification of that laser, and you're going to start creating particle pairs out of the vacuum. Then you're going to oscillate those particle pairs to create gravity waves. And just for added benefit, if you're flying around an atmosphere, you can use the ionized atmosphere around you with these magnetic fields as additional forms of thrust.
There you go. I like how he throws in there. And by the way, if you're flying around the atmosphere, you can use the atmosphere itself as your fuel source. It's called air breathing magnetohydrodynamics. They even have a cool name for it. No, I didn't make that up. They already had all the dope names. Air breathing magnetohydrodynamics. That sounds like some dope shit. Well, that's because it is. It is. That's all balls of plasma float around through the sky. Pretty sweet.
This thing's been secret for a really long time, even though we got leakers coming out. There's still no official document out there that says, yes, we have this craft. And apparently, if it's been out since at least 1980,
wow,
we're going on over 40 years. This thing's been out, and it's still so classified. They can't tell us anything about it. What's going on with that? Well,
it's like, yeah, why can't, guys, it's been classified since the 40, the 50s, 60s, whatever. Why can't they tell us anything? Well, I think we know why. Like you would, like, if you're a normie person, you say, why can't you just tell us some secrets or whatever? Well, because it's kind of all about free energy. It's kind of all about, we can literally manipulate space-time now. So we've gone a little bit beyond like normal expectations. We've somehow shifted up our expectations like 1,000 years in the future. I often think about when I first saw those videos and started doing live stream, or not live streams, but actually like doing interviews. I used to think that technology was 1,000 years beyond where we are right now, before I knew anything. So imagine a normal person looked at that and they go, this is 1,000 years beyond where we're at publicly. Now, that's part of the reason why they have to cover it up. I mean, this is not a normal jump in technology, which makes me wonder about the part about aliens, right? I don't talk about aliens that much because I don't really care about aliens. But you do gotta wonder. You do gotta wonder. How did we figure out teleportation and free energy technology and plasma orbs? Is it because we saw it and we started recreating it? And I'm not talking about the sun. Not talking about the sun. Because here's the rub, chat. Aliens are almost certainly real. The only reason why I say almost certainly is, yes, aliens exist. Of course, aliens exist. There's lots of planets out there. The universe is huge as shit. There's aliens everywhere. Every kind of aliens you could imagine, they exist. Why aren't we seeing them? I'm going to answer that question for you too. Because we are dumb primitives. We are basically like ants. You don't go visit the ants because you have nothing to talk about with the ants. The aliens don't care about us because they have nothing to talk about with us because we're dumb primitives. What are they going to go on a Carnival cruise line? No, thank you. They don't need that. Now, this being said, the aliens also have extremely advanced magical technologies. The aliens can live forever. The aliens can teleport. The aliens can transmute whatever elements they need from the fabric of space-time. And they don't need anything that we have. They don't need this planet. They don't need us. They don't need anything unless they're interested in how the dumb earth monkeys walk around, right? Like us. Aliens can easily not be seen by us. People are like, why don't we see them? Because they can fucking teleport. The aliens can teleport. The aliens can be invisible. The aliens can be walking around in my room right behind me right now and just be perfectly transparent and invisible. That's the level of technology the aliens have. Why do I say that? Because that's the level of technology we have. It's certainly the technology we will have in like 100 years or like 1,000 years. So if any civilization is even a little bit more advanced than we are, they're basically like gods. Okay? Now, do you guys understand the whole situation of the aliens now? Why don't the aliens come down on the front lawn of the White House and say hello to the president? Because they don't give a shit about our politics. They don't care about our organizational structure of our civilization. We're a bunch of dumbass primitives. Their dumbest alien is probably smarter than the smartest human. And even if they're not, they got technology that makes them that way, basically. The same way where if you have an iPhone, you're going to be way smarter than a caveman, right? So I wanted to bring that up about the alien thing. Go ahead and clip that. I think that was a good clip. Here we go. Let's finish this up. Putting it all together. Jarod Yates. By the way, I don't do this often. I don't glaze people that much. My goodness, is this a good presentation? This is one of the best presentations I've ever seen about 0 point energy, gravity manipulation. I mean, my dude brought the receipts. He brought the receipts on stuff that I have never seen before. So bravo to Jarod Yates. Would be love to talk to him and have him on the Hard Truths podcast, or we can just have private conversation as well, because it feels like we got a lot of crossover here. A whole lot of crossover.
Some speculation for you. One, nuclear fusion would completely eliminate all need for, well, not all need, but all of the petrodollar value. And as we can see from Gulf War I and Gulf War II, the military-industrial complex seems to care a great deal about the value of oil, specifically because the entire U.S. economy, and thus all of their funding, relies upon the value of oil. Additionally, this thing has capabilities that are so extreme that to even disclose these things could provide a potential benefit to adversaries. So they don't even want to let the adversarial nations know that we have this, because then they might be able to try to start doing it themselves. Additionally, and going a little more into the conspiratorial element, UFOs, UAPs, that majestic document from Ed Teller suggested that they actually needed to develop Excalibur space lasers to be able to fight not terrestrial-based threats, but extraterrestrial-based threats. And the need was to eventually put a neutral particle beam weapon onto a platform that could keep up with these incursions of extraterrestrial vehicles that are hostile to all of us. So you can try to...
Wait. Is this some Men in Black shit? Are we shooting down aliens with laser beams? Honestly, if that's true, that's super dope. That's actually really dope. If we've got plasma lasers shooting down UFOs and aliens out of the sky, I mean, you know, honestly, if that's true, I have a really, really, really hard time believing it. But if that is true, bravo. Bravo. You know what? The only reason why I even give that a second thought is because that's basically what Salvatore Pais has been trying to tell me. I mean, I don't really want to believe it, but he keeps telling me they were like, what if we're building this human technology? I think it was in his letter that he did, that Dave Rossi wrote. Something about, I believe in human technology, and like kind of implying that like we have to use this to fight against aliens or something. I mean, let's just be real. Unless the aliens are like basically at our same technological level, this is going to be a no contest. Aliens are going to dunk on us. They're going to dunk on us, chat. So yeah, I mean, we should be, if there are aliens out there that are a threat to us, we definitely need to be weaponizing this technology so we can try to catch up. The same way where North Korea and Iran are going to try to steal the technology from us. We should be trying to steal it from the aliens. They probably have better, crazier shit than this. They almost certainly have replicators. Let's steal some replicators. Steal some replicators, replicate up some shit. Sounds like a good plan to me. You know, now that I say that, we probably already did. You know what? That dumb of me, naive of me, chat. We probably already stole the alien replicators. That's probably how we have the technology we got going on right now. Lockheed Martin probably has an alien replicator, and they're just replicating shit out there. That's why their technology is super far advanced. I'm not going to rule it out.
Drink the military-industrial complex Kool-Aid and say that they've actually been protecting us. The military's been protecting us for a very long time by keeping us in the dark about the fact that we could all be eliminated in the blink of an eye by an advanced civilization, and it's only through their efforts of SDI that we're even still here today. I'm a little torn on that as a veteran.
Yeah, I don't
tend to lean more towards
believe that, but okay.
Even though there's plenty of stuff that suggests it shouldn't, but overall, I tend to do so. Lastly, those neutral particle beam weapons, those things have energies of damage as great, if not greater, than nuclear weapons without the fallout. That right there is like the golden sword.
Chat, Havana syndrome, anybody? Havana syndrome, anybody? Start shooting neutral particle beams at people. See what happens. I guarantee you nothing good happens to your DNA if you get shot by some neutral particle beams.
For all of the adversarial nations. Could you imagine Kim Jong-un or some other, crazy world leader with the ability to fly a craft across the planet in a couple of minutes, blow up whatever he wants with the energy, the amount of a nuke, and then fly off, and he's in and out within a couple of minutes? That's the kind of nightmare scenario that is why it necessitates secrecy. All right, wrapping it all up for you. So the TR3B, I'm saying that it uses one, potentially both of these mechanisms. It's using hyper-accelerated, ultra-relativistic plasma mirrors with instant laser beams to create particle-antiparticle pairs, which are then oscillated to create gravity waves. That's a field-based propulsion device. You're not actually emitting anything.
Field propulsion.
However, if you're in a medium such as atmosphere, then you can use that medium as a propellant with the neutralized particle beams that are coming off of the edges of these.
Bro, this is so crazy. This is so crazy to me. Jarod Yates does his whole presentation about TR3Bs, and it is exactly what the orbs are doing in the MH370 videos. And I don't mean to say it like, oh, he's just saying all this stuff that matches the MH370 videos. No, it's the same exact science that I already identified as being connected to the MH370 video orbs. And here he is just laying it all out there. And then I had already thought that the orbs were just the TR3B. I had literally already thought that. I've been thinking that for the last 2 years, going that those orbs are the TR3B. The reason why it's a black triangle is because it looks like it's a solid triangle, but it's not. Or there's also a possibility that it's a different version of the TR3B, that what we see with the orbs is the more advanced version, where there literally is nothing between them. So, wow, what a live stream tonight, guys. This was a crazy one. Go ahead and share this with all your people out there. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for happy Labor Day, for everybody out there. Hope you enjoyed your day off. Thank you to all the Black Project engineers, Winterberg, Edward Teller, I guess, Salvatore Pais, David Froning, and then big thank you to Jarod Yates for all this amazing information. I wonder what else he knows, honestly. So we'd love to compare notes with him sometime. Make sure you guys follow Jarod. He's on Twitter as well, I think. But I put a link to the video in the description, so check that out. Thank you, MH370X. I love you guys. We'll be back on Wednesday. Later, everybody. You know what we're playing us out with tonight.
Out in the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space, traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeezed so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plates so fine, spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Coulomb forces balancing the plates, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound. A shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night with wormholes wormholes and stargates, our path is clear. Explore